Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The assumption today of the United States presidency by Joe Biden is being followed with great interest in Poland. All the more so since Poles believe that the outgoing president, Donald Trump, contributed to a significant improvement in Polish-American relations and increased the security of Poland. Prime Minister Michał Majewski, when asked about the future of the cooperation between Poland and the United States after the change of administration, said that given the joint investment projects and strategic coherence, it will go well. Many policies are identical. For example, joint projects within the 3 Cs initiative, where we are developing very many infrastructure connections. We are looking for funds for new interconnectors, for connectors in the field of communication and energy infrastructure. In turn, the parliamentary opposition wants to pass a resolution that welcomes the new United States President Joe Biden. The left accuses the ruling party of having a problem with congratulating Biden. The government points to the 15th of December last year when President Andrzej Duda congratulated Joe Biden and issued an invitation to visit Poland. It was sent immediately after the vote of the American Electoral College.
Madam Speaker.
Whether the Republicans or Democrats are in charge, the continuity of the policy regarding Poland was natural. The United States is one of Poland's most important allies, and the former president, Donald Trump, was in quite close relations with the current government. The outgoing United States president also supported President Andrzej Duda in the last presidential campaign in Poland. Trump did what many presidents failed to do, such as accepting Poland to the visa waiver program and sending troops to the eastern flank of NATO, as well as placing the regional command here in Poland. This has put Poland on the map of the United States commands worldwide.
Znaleźliśmy się jako ważny punkt na mapie geopolitycznej dowództw amerykańskich.
Te szczególne relacje pomiędzy
Andrzej Duda and Donald Trump had very personal relations. With Joe Biden it will not be possible. However, we must remember that the US interests in our region are permanent in key aspects such as security and energy infrastructure.
nie uda się osiągnąć.
President Donald Trump visited Warsaw during his second foreign trip in July 2017. Then he delivered an important speech at the monument to the Warsaw Uprising. He then said that a strong Poland is a blessing for the countries of Europe, the West and the whole world. 18,000 zloty, that's €4,500, is to be paid by journalists for refusing to disclose the source of his information. The publisher of the Wprost magazine is to pay 20,000 zloty. The district court in Warsaw confirmed the earlier judgment. The case concerns a leak of recordings of high-ranking government officials of the Civic Platform and the Polish People's Party. The recordings outraged public opinion and contributed to the loss of power by that party at the subsequent elections. When Secret Service officers raided the Wprost Weekly newsroom, reporter Michał Majewski refused to hand over a laptop containing the details of the investigation, claiming the right to keep his informants anonymous. Last February, Warsaw District Court decided that this constituted the crime of resisting state power and fined the journalist 18,000 zloty. This is a strange verdict, I would even say scandalous, because it turns out that in the whole wiretap scandal, the interference of the secret services, and the brutal incursion into the office of the Wprost Weekly, the only convicted person is, as I understand it, a journalist. Investigative journalist Wojciech Biedron points out this is another example of the pathology in the Polish judiciary. We are dealing primarily with the so-called revenge of the judicial caste on the free world, on free thought, and on a free, independent journalist. The case was judged by Monika Ktaczyk-Turek, who is a politically vocal and paradoxically proclaims herself as a defender of freedom and democracy. A judge who is on the list of the so-called judges of freedom proclaimed by Gazeta Wyborcza delivers a verdict that openly violates the freedom of speech, openly violating the inviolable issues, i.e. journalistic secrets.
To wszystko sprawia, że dziś mówimy o klęsce sprawiedliwości.
The journalistic community has already offered financial support and emphasises the importance of the right to maintain journalistic secrets. We, as journalists, must defend the journalistic secret to the end, otherwise no one will want to talk to us. It is a bit like a confessional secret. You cannot reveal an informant. The journalist must be the guardian of such a secret, otherwise our work does not make sense. Part of the journalistic community has expressed the hope that President Andrzej Duda will take advantage of the right of pardon and reverse his scandalous sentence. which strikes right to journalists' secrets. Auschwitz and the industrial-scale murder of people whom Nazis considered subhuman are examples of perverted German ingenuity. But what about a concentration camp for Polish children? Such an institution operated in the city of Łódź between 1942 and 1945. The Institute of National Remembrance has prepared an open-air display to document the history of this terrible place, which held children from 6 to 16 years old. Beaten, starved and humiliated. Some of them spent 25 months in the so-called German labour camp. Germans imprisoned over 3,000 children, aged from 6 to 16 years, and at least 200 of them died. I remember that they gathered us in a square and the committee selected appropriate people from among children and adolescents to determine whether they were suitable for Germanization. Children and adolescents, selected by the commission, were sent to the camp in Poznan. The tragic history of the children's death camp began in December 1942. The miners who ended up there were the children of Poles who fought in the Home Army or were sent to forced labour in Germany. Historians add that flogging and other physical punishments were commonplace in the camp. The story of another boy who witnessed the death of his older brother is also terrifying. He came home from work in the stable and took potatoes, hid them to take them to the barrack and share food with his friends. The Germans noticed this and started beating him, called another prisoner for help, and they kicked and beat him until he died. Children in the German camp were forced to work for up to 12 hours a day. Most of it was the straightening of weaving needles, a tedious job that lasted 10 to 12 hours here. Boys and girls did it. Children recall that the needles had to be soaked in oil and straightened on a small anvil. Their hands were dirty all the time. Oil was spraying into their eyes. This caused all kinds of diseases. After the end of World War II, the memory of the German labour camp for Polish children at ulica Przemysłowa in Łódź began to fade away, and almost all remains of it were destroyed. And at the beginning of the 1960s, along with the construction of a housing estate, the boundaries became indistinct. At the beginning of the 1970s, the memory of the martyrdom and suffering of Polish children from Łódź was revived in connection with the capture and imprisonment of a prison camp guard, Eugenia Pol. The subject of German camps for Polish children in Łódź is little known, and it is very bad because we are forgetting how the Germans treated not only men and women, but also Polish children and Polish youth. They treated them just as badly as the adults. To commemorate the painful history of the several thousand Polish children from the labour camp, the Institute of National Remembrance in Łódź has prepared a special outdoor exhibition in the Szary Szeregów Park in Łódź. A virtual version is available on the website. At the beginning of this year, Krzysztof Krajewski became the new Polish ambassador to Moscow. Republika Television, citing the journalistic investigation by Dorota Kania, was the first to reveal Krajewski's connections with the authorities of the People's Republic of Poland. The post of the ambassador to Russia was given to the former secretary Jerzy Urban, who was a communist government spokesman at the time of martial law in Poland. This is a scandal because this person has a communist lineage, started his career in the Communist Student Union, was in the Communist Party, then worked for Jerzy Orban, and then moved to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs during the term of the former party secretary Włodzimierz Cimoszewicz. Such a person should not now hold a prominent position. The question is whether he should work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at all. At the moment, a draft law on foreign service has been submitted, supported by Law and Justice, and I think that this law will clear the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of such people. By the way, according to unofficial information, Ambassador Krajewski was sceptical about condemning Russia's actions against Alexei Navalny. This shows what sort of a man he is, and that one cannot count on any reset in relations with Russia. A man from the former Soviet system went to an important post. And we come back to the privatization of tenement houses in Warsaw. Real estate worth tens of millions of zloty was stolen by a group of unscrupulous lawyers associated with politicians. To this day, nobody has been convicted in this case. Meanwhile, another scandal has broken out related to the tenement house at Noakowskiego 16 in Warsaw, which passed through the hands of the family of the former mayor of Warsaw. The Policja portal revealed that 2 of the 3 judges who ruled in the reprivatization of this tenement house in December last year belonged to the judicial associations combating the reform of the judiciary. Let us remember that this court overturned the decision of the Verification Commission, which wanted to cancel this privatization. Judge Anna Wesołowska is a member of the Temis Judges Association and Judge Gabriela Nowak is a member of the Justia Judges Association. Both associations oppose the reform of the judiciary introduced by the current government. There is therefore suspicion that the decision of the judges could have been influenced by political argument. The court's decision was delivered in camera. Its content was strongly criticised by the chairman of the verification committee, Sebastian Caleta. He also announced that a cassation appeal would be sent to the Supreme Administrative Court. One of the beneficiaries of the reprivatization of this tenement house was Andrzej Walc, the husband of the former mayor of Warsaw, Hanna Gronkiewicz-Walc. Quintuplets have been born in Poznan at the Gynecology and Obstetrics Department of the Clinical Hospital. Anastasia, Clara, Laura, Victoria and Maximilian were born in the 29th week of pregnancy. They feel well and are undergoing examinations under the supervision of doctors. Our reporter, Patrick Svielikowski, investigated this event. This is the first such birth in Poznan in 14 years.
Wiedzieliśmy, że będzie dużo dziewczynek.
We knew there would be many girls, but we didn't know there would be so many.
się stało.
Anastasia, Clara, Laura, Victoria and Maximilian, such births occur only once in 50 million births. Children are stable.
Stabilnym.
Doctors keep their fingers on the pulse because such births occur once in 50 million births. It remains to be seen whether the vessel which fully enables the ectopic life is closed up to the third day. The parents are happy because the children's mother was treated for infertility earlier, so they did not expect that nature would give them so generously. Each day was a struggle to keep this pregnancy as long as possible. The last time quintuplets were born in Poznan was 14 years ago. Then Emilia, Kamil, Karol, Maya and Victoria Gorka from Breszło were born. It is the gift of nature, a big challenge for parents. When one starts to cry, the next one starts. And as some people say, there is a big problem with it. 2 years ago, the parents of 6 children from Kraków, Filip, Timon, Zosia, Kaja, Malwina and Nela, also had reason to be happy. And such a group of babies happens, attention, once every 5 billion pregnancies. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.